Hey everybody, this is Minion Soldier and this is the Piracy Show, and this is the sound of my voice when I am 95% tilted but still maintaining the control. Just digging down deep and holding on. Because I don't know if you saw it, but ask the devs today. They were talking about this ship right here, the Cutlass. We love the Cutlass. The Cutlass is fantastic. Except for one minor thing, right? We've talked about the cockpit views. Now, I know some of you disagree, but actually, one of you linked a video to me. I believe his name is Francisco Martin, talking about this view right here and saying, well, this is legitimate here. Here's what real cockpit views look like in DCS so that you can see. But what I don't think that he realized that he did is he actually perfectly illustrated my point. I mean, in a way, the footage that he put up, and you can see the link on last week's ship updates, and I'm going to link the footage because I'm going to use a little chunk of it because, well, I'm a pirate, right? So we're supposed to steal stuff. So I'm going to borrow a little of the YouTuber's footage. The guy's name is Matt Wagner. I'm going to put a link to his channel too, so you can go and check out the footage or watch his videos. He plays DCS. I guess he streams it as well. I didn't have a lot of time to dig into his stuff, but it looked pretty good. And the game itself, DCS, is a highly impressive game. And apparently, I'm no expert, but apparently it is very accurate and very, very immersive. I've never really been the biggest high-fidelity flight sim fan, but there are a few things that we are going to address here with the Cutlass, and using his footage, we're going to make our point. Now, here you can see we're flying downwards towards the ground in the Cutlass. It's no big deal, right? This is fine. This is perfect. This is great. This is the way the view is supposed to be. This is why you're wrong, Minion. Well, let me show you how that's not exactly the case. So here we are. We're going to get into the Cutlass while it's sitting level on the landing pad. This is it. This is the view inside the Cutlass when you're sitting level on the landing pad, right? Well, we're all clear here. I'm going to wave the computer, wave the view around, but this is it. This is your normal view inside the Cutlass. We're going to power it up, and then we're going to freeze frame it right here because we're going to composite in a little extra footage so you can see what I'm talking about. So here we go, freeze frame. Now, let me show you what I'm talking about. So here is the footage supplied by Francisco Martin. Now look at that. Oh my god, those two panels meet in exactly the same place. There you go, Minion Soldier, you're wrong. Hold the phone. The white line that just appeared kind of marks the horizon in the DCS footage. Now keep in mind he keeps changing the position of his head, so the horizon is going to change relative, but that's generally the baseline of where the horizon is, as you can see it bouncing around. Now look at Star Citizen. The Star Citizen horizon is marked in blue. Look at all the viewable area down in front of you that is now lost. Of course, he's looking around inside of his cockpit. You can see he's got all the switches and dials. He's got all the immersion he could possibly need. But the difference is he can see down in front of him. Now, if we return to our original cockpit view footage, we have to be flying down at an angle into a planet to even be able to see what's down in front of us like we would be able to see in DCS, in their cockpit view. Do you see what I'm saying now? Like they're showing all the same amount of paneling, everything, but you can see down in front of you. You can see the grounds. You can see to get around, and like he can use this to taxi, just like any normal plane would, like a 747, like a Cessna, like all of them have this same ability. They can see down in front of them. That's why you see the guys with the little glowy sticks in front of your plane, directing it where to taxi and where to park, all of that. If it was the Cutlass, it would have to be like literally nose down, tilted towards the ground to be able to see that guy. He wouldn't even be there. Now, I want you to pay attention to this next part because this is kind of illustrates the extreme. Now, we've already established that once again, blue is the horizon line in Star Citizen, also coincidentally, the top of our control panel. Whereas in DCS, they are two completely different things. He's about to take off now, which means he's going to be flying upwards into the atmosphere. Watch where his horizon line ends up when he is now in a climb. Watch this very carefully, because this is probably going to be the final nail in the coffin. So here we go. He's taken off now. He's up. He's off the ground. He does a little stuff where he's looking around inside his cockpit, but watch. Even going into a climb, he can still see the ground down in front of him. He can still see the ground. Whereas when you're flying the Cutlass, you actually have to tilt the nose downward. You have to fly into the ground to be able to see the ground. I mean, look, he's got all his switches and dials. He's got all the immersion he needs, but he can still see very clearly. He has to pitch up at this point just to hide the ground, just to get to the point where he's obscuring the view enough with the nose tilted up that it's actually like the Cutlass is parked flat on the ground. See those fins right there underneath the HUD? Those are on the nose of the plane. He's looking down the nose of the plane. He's flying upwards at an incline, and this is where we start to get the approximate angle that you get of the Cutlass parked flat on the ground. He has to tilt his nose upwards to jam things up that way. DCS can give the most immersive environment in the world. They can create an entire virtual internal cockpit. All those switches and dials work. If you go watch his channel, Matt Wagner, watch his channel, watch his videos. He's sitting there, he's messing with all the switches and dials, he's adjusting all the controls. I assume it's basically a 1-for-1 of an actual Hornet cockpit. You know, he's got all the immersion in the world. And yet he can still see down in front of him. He still has a proper combat view. Whereas in the Cutlass, we have an approximation of that. We have an attempt at that. But the problem is the pilot, his head is sitting almost level. His eyes are almost level with the dashboard. Whereas in DCS, the pilot's eyes are up higher and he can see down in front of him. The panels are all still there. Everything is still there. Everything is basically equivalent, but he can see downwards in front of him. So he can see to land his ship on the ground, or his plane on the ground. He can see that. He can see the ground. He can see his targets on the ground that he might be trying to bomb. He has a clear view of the enemies that he may be dogfighting with. That's the difference. That's the problem with the Cutlass and Star Citizen. In order to get a view like that out of the Cutlass, you have to go and sit in the co-pilot seat. Once you hop down in the co-pilot seat, you flip right up, boom. Look, all of a sudden you can see the ground down in front of you. You can, you have a much better commanding view. Now this is something of an extreme because this is a little bit in the other direction, but at least you can see where you're trying to land your ship. Now I realize a lot of you might not think that this is really a big, but I would submit that, you know, Star Citizen is supposed to be a first-person universe, so the ship should be at least somewhat able to accommodate that. We shouldn't be going into third person to land our ships. You know, we should be able to see. One of the primary functions that every single ship should have is the ability to land it. I mean, is that too much? Are we asking too much? Oh, no. It's balance. I don't think that it's balance. I think that balance is a clever way to say we didn't realize it when we made it and we don't want to have to go back and fix it, even though people warned us about this years ago. And this goes with a lot of ships. Now, the original Cutlass didn't have this problem. The original Cutlass was actually, as far as the cockpit viewpoint, was actually brilliant. That was one of the best features of that ship, but in the redo, it became compromised. And the compromise was all these MFDs. Now, if you raise the seat up so the pilot can look down in the front, then you don't really have that issue anymore. You actually get to a point where you can have your MFDs and you can also have the view that the pilot needs to have in order to fly the ship. That's the difference. That's what people are talking about. And so I realize that not a lot of people are seeing it, and they're going to DCS and they're saying, see, it comes up to almost the same level. It's just the same. It really isn't. Now, of course, on Ask the Devs today, we heard, oh, well, you know, if we made it so that you could fly it from the back seat, you know, oh, it would have to go back to art and get, you know, redone. And, oh, you know, that would take time. Oh, well, you know, aren't we constantly hearing about how things are being held up because CIG is taking the time to do it right? Well, here it is. I mean, it's one thing to sit there and say, oh, well, we're trying to put the pilot down in the front and the co-pilot in the back, just like the dropship on Aliens, because, you know, we're basing our reality on a movie instead of, you know, actual vehicles in the real world. That would probably be a better example than a piece of science fiction. But okay, fine, you want to use this arrangement, that's fine, but you're going to have to adjust that pilot seat. You're going to have to lift it up and give them that downwards view so that they can see what's down and in front of them. You know, there are games like DCS where you can just switch your view and you can look down into your cockpit like you would IRL and move all the switches and dials. You have to understand that being the best damn space sim ever means being the best damn space sim ever. It doesn't mean cutting corners and hoping no one will notice, because guess what? They did. So at this point, I feel that I've vented. I've gotten it out there. I don't see how I can illustrate this point more clearly beyond this, and obviously it didn't go into a rant video, so I'm kind of happy with that. I'm happy with the result. But because obviously this is probably going to be one of the more controversial videos that I release, I'm going to go ahead and demonetize this video before it ever gets up, so no one can accuse me of creating drama for profit. This is something that we do on this channel, or I do, sorry. Oh, why am I saying we? Something that I do on this channel from time to time with the more controversial videos, so that people know that I'm expressing an opinion and not expressing an interest in income. Anyways, that's the show for today. Sorry to have beaten this horse one more time. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.